Tony Ferguson, he didn't just go off on Nate. He went off on some other, like Conor McGregor. And
on what?
Calling him bitch for not taking the fight. Well, especially for Nate Diaz, because he says Nate Diaz was offered a fight with him.
That's correct.
For an interim title.
Yeah.
And then Nate initially agreed and then said, no, the terms weren't right, so he didn't want to take the fight anymore. Mm-hmm. So then in this article, he's just saying that he should try to go playing tennis instead of fighting, because this is a fighting sport.
Who did he do this interview with? Do we know? Was it on Ariel?
Ferguson? Yeah, Ariel's show.
I mean, I like that Ferguson's coming out. We're actually going to have him on this show. I like that he's voicing more. I think it's the way to go, but it's all good. It's the right play for Ferguson, because what Ferguson needs to do is he needs to be talked about, because who's out of McGregor, out of Nate Diaz, who's the one guy we're not talking about? Out of McGregor, Diaz, Khabib, who's the one guy, and Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, who's the one guy no one's talking about? Ferguson. But I haven't heard a thing. He's the one who gets fucked over out of everybody. Khabib fucked himself. Conor McGregor's busy with Floyd Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? And Nate he's turning down fights. The one who's getting screwed over all this is Tony Ferguson. So it's good he went on and did a show, and now we're talking about him, but he's the guy who should just be like, what the fuck? What are we doing, man? Khabib's eating tiramisu, missing weight. Missed that huge fight. Nate Diaz takes a fight, leaves the fight. Conor McGregor wants to be a boxer now. What about me, man? Give me someone. So I feel bad for him, because he's right up there skill-wise. He's one of the best fighters in the world. But, not a lot of people know his name, even though he's the Ultimate Fighter winner, even though he's, had some great fights. He dismantled Dos Anjos, and he has this huge fight with Khabib, but to his unknowingly doing, Khabib fucking doesn't make weight, passes out. It's just the one guy who gets screwed out of all is Tony Ferguson. So it sounds like there's frustration there. Yeah, definitely. Tony Ferguson goes off on bitch Nate Diaz. You're in the wrong sport. Go try tennis. And with Nate, I don't know what he wants. You listen to that interview with Ariel. I don't know what he wants. I really don't. He was like, I don't even want to fucking fight with Conor. I don't want the third fight. You don't? Then what do you want? The interim belt against Tony Ferguson? That sounds a cool deal. Don't want that. So I don't know what it is. Maybe they've made enough money where it's not important to them anymore. Hopefully, those guys deserve it. But Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson, Nate's probably an underdog in that fight.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a tough fight for Nate. A tough fight for Conor. Tony Ferguson's the toughest guy in that division. Against Khabib, I would go back and forth who's going to win that fight. But out of everyone we're talking about, Tony gets screwed over. Conor's going to make his money. He's on ESPN every goddamn day. I watch that show every day. Khabib fucked himself. He'll figure that out, but that's on him. Nate Diaz, he's good, man. He's on, Anthony Bourdain. He's doing this. He's, still in the MMA news because everyone loves him. No one talks about Tony Ferguson. He needs to do as many shows as he can, talk as much shit as he can till someone bites. That's, unfortunately, I know we hate this. Unfortunately, that's the business we're in now. If just your skills, if you want to be the best 155er in the world, not named Conor McGregor or Nate Diaz, we gotta do something to get our attention. You just can't train. You just can't beat people up. It sucks. I get it, man. You gotta do something. You gotta come up with something, man. This is a start. Bitch, Nate Diaz. You're wrong sport. Go try tennis. Conor McGregor, all that stuff. Here we go. Mm-hmm. Now he's getting up. He should just keep going till someone bites. Till we want to see him fight. He should make guarantees. Make promises what would happen to Nate if he gets in there. Make promises what would happen to Conor if he gets in there. Talk about how Khabib fucked him. Get your story out, man. But when you get fucked and you just go away and we don't hear, how long ago was that? A while ago.
Last week?
No, I'm talking about, remember when he's supposed to fight Khabib?
Oh, that was a while ago, yeah.
We haven't heard from him since. Forever. And now I'm like, oh yeah, there he is. The best 155er in the world that we forgot about. It sucks, man, but that's what we're in. His management needs to just have him going. His manager's the same manager as Conor's.
Yeah, that was weird.
Hey, man. Help him. Come on, Big Round Breakdown. Million listeners. We got a million. Get your voice out. Go on, Ariel. Go do whatever you got to do. Go. There's a lot of other. Go on. Fox is right here. He's a local kid. Go on Fox. Go on UFC Tonight and talk shit. I know he was on there like demonstrating dart strokes and stuff, but don't go on there and be a gentleman. Go on there and be a fucking savage. Where we're like, oh my God, that guy is so intense. Then you look at his highlights, you're like, holy smokes. Like they need to have a game plan for him. They're mismanaging him right now. He's the best 155 in the world who can't get a fucking fight, who doesn't have a title.
Well, it seems like he's starting to do it now. And I apologize. This is actually from his interview on Submission Radio, and he was referring to Nate Diaz's interview with Ariel. That's
gotcha.
That bonus.
That makes sense. Gotcha.
All right, moving on. Oh, we already talked about this sort of. He didn't want to take the. He didn't want to take the Ferguson fight. Nate Diaz didn't want to take the Ferguson fight because it's for a fake title. Well, that's one of the reasons why Nate Diaz gave out that he didn't want to fight him.
You know what I think's going on, and I agree with Nate on this. Mm-hmm. I think Nate versus Tony Ferguson is a worse matchup for Nate versus Conor McGregor at 55. Tony Ferguson a fucking nightmare to deal with. There's a lot of things you got to worry about, and with his mentality, his size at the division, it's a very, very tough fight for anyone, including Khabib, Nate, or Conor. I'm not putting down Nate in the least bit. If I'm Nate, and this is what I think he's doing, and I'm sure he'll correct me if I'm wrong. Nate wants the huge last fight payday is Conor McGregor 3 at 55 for the world title. Nate's ego won't let him say that. His bad boy image won't let him admit that. So he goes, fuck that. I don't need him. I don't need to do anything. Deep down inside, he's waiting for that go. Because Tony versus Nate, that's not breaking pay-per-view records. Tony versus Nate ain't breaking fight night records, which is crazy because that's a hell of a fight. Yeah. But let's just call it like it is. Those aren't going to get you the payday you're looking for. The only fight that will get you the payday you're looking for is Conor McGregor 3 at 55 for an actual title. You guys fight at 70, that's not even Conor's weight. There's no belt on the line. Think how big those are. Yeah. Now think about the actual trilogy fight for a belt. Legit shit.
Huge.
Whether the Floyd fight happens or not, all the public freaking outcry for that, and then you get this fight, biggest. I'd be willing to say Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor trilogy for the legit 155 World Championship is the biggest fight in UFC history. You don't think Nate's team knows that? You don't think Conor McGregor knows that? You think Tony or Khabib are going to get a shot at this? No. Nate knows this. Nate's not a dumb guy. He's not. They know exactly what they're doing. He's playing it just right. The fighter in Nate accepted the Tony Ferguson fight. Nate's not scared of anyone. The fighter in Nate accepted that fight. Yeah. Someone got in his ear and went, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, if you take this fight and in some weird world you lose, that Conor McGregor trilogy fight's out the window, my man. That's gone. There's no rush. What? So you beat Tony Ferguson. What's that do for your career? So you have an interim belt. So I guess that interim versus the legit Conor belts, no one's still going to take you seriously as a champion. Conor has the belt. We saw him murk fucking Eddie Alvarez and then ride off to the sunset and do this Floyd Mayweather press tour. His team knows, man. So when, like, as a purist, I'm like, oh my God, Nate Diaz or Tony Ferguson? That's a fucking fight. Tony Ferguson is just as skilled as anyone in the world, has the same mentality as a Nate Diaz, and is so game. You know, it's such a great fight. The businessman in me goes, oh, no, don't do that, Nate. Please don't do that. Hold off, brother. Hold off. Even if it's a year from now, it's still the biggest fight in UFC history. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That goes into what I was going to talk about in the next one, too. I'll try to do it real quick. So Dana White said that he's not sure how much Nate Diaz is worth without Conor, and he's not sure he could even sell pay-per-views or not make a big difference in pay-per-view buys. But it seems as though he's just being smart with the Conor thing and wanting to get that fight because it'll be huge, but he's still got to be worth a decent amount of pay-per-view buys, right?
Yes and no. Like I said, Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz isn't and this hurts me to say this, but it is what it's not me. I buy every fucking pay-per-view. Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson is not a bank buster. It's not gonna break the gates. Unfortunately it's not. That sucks. Dana's right in one aspect, that saying, he's not degrading Nate Diaz, which thank God. He goes, how much is Nate Diaz worth without Conor McGregor? I don't know. That's fair. Because remember Nate Diaz's path to where he's at now, and how he has this huge draw, and he's making 7 figures every fight. Remember, he lost a fight, then beat Michael Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Like he wasn't a draw then. Like he wasn't a pay-per-view holder. We all love to see him fight, and the purists and the guys who are MMA, aficionados and love MMA know these guys. But he wasn't like one of the billboards. He wasn't on all the billboards, all the shows. Like he's not selling too many kits, I assume. So he beats Michael Johnson, is the best he's ever looked. Before that, he lost. Before that, you look at his record. Bring up his record, brother. Renee Diaz. But it's a fascinating story because we know how game the Diaz brothers are. We know that Nate's been through these struggles, and we've been on it with him. That's why everyone loves Nate, and he's down to fight whoever, whenever. But you look at his record, so he kind of that Dos Anjos fight wasn't that close. It's a unanimous decision. Dos Anjos, his record's 17-10. Some would say that's a little salty, even though he's beat everyone in the world. Before that, he dismantles Gray Maynard, who, Gray's had his tough times. And before that, he lost 2 in a row. Josh Thompson, head kick KO, first time we've seen Nate. A lot of people thought he was done. He loses to Ben Henderson, not a very competitive fight. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out of his last 7, he's lost 4.
It's true.
3 and 4.
And after that Conor fight, though,
but this is my point here. So he loses Dos Anjos, who goes on to become champ. There's no reason to hang your head there. And Nate Diaz missed weight. He missed weight, and then he fights Michael Johnson. He looks great. Fight of the night. Yep. He goes 3 rounds. He beats the shit out of Mike Johnson, who's on a hot path, and then he gets Conor McGregor. But before then, granted, he's beat some great guys, but he was never, this huge draw. He was this weird subculture draw where the purists love him. They still do. And he's kind of crossed over to that, to the mainstream-ish, but he's a far cry from Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey. But you look, and it's a fascinating story. It's great, man. And then also he loses the majority decision to Conor on his last one. If that fight, went another round, Conor could have been in trouble, but he still lost. At the end of the day, it's still a loss. But to Dana's point, I got to agree. I don't know if we do Nate Diaz versus Khabib. I don't know if we do a Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson. It sure as fuck ain't going over 700,000 buys.
I see what you're saying.
And it sucks. But Nate versus Conor 3, the trilogy, the story, is the biggest pay-per-view of all time. Mark my words. That will be the biggest one of all time. Especially if they stack right, they play it right. Nate obviously can sell the fight. Conor can sell the fight. Whatever happens with Conor, Floyd Mayweather, it just builds all this up. They should not fight anyone else. I know that's going to make some people upset. Who's it fuck over? This is the business side of things talking. If I'm WME, this is what I'm doing. Who gets left behind? Tony Ferguson, Khabib. Those guys are fucked. That's why they need to figure it out. That's why Tony needs to cry wolf as much as he can on anyone who put a mic in front of his face who has a following. But Dana's right. I agree with him. I don't. It sucks. It is what it is. We love the Diaz brothers. But to be a draw, it's fucking tough, man. To get people to give you $70 to watch you perform, it's tough. There's not a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Are you a guy who's a huge loyal Diaz fan?
I'm not, but then ever since that Conor fight with him, I
want to watch?
Way more interested in him. So that's what makes me wonder if he did do a fight with Ferguson or Khabib. Mm-hmm. Would it be? I know for me, we would buy it. We'd buy the fight, but would the average fan buy the fight?
So here,
there's no way I could know.
I don't know either, and the UFC doesn't know. This is all hearsay, but Jose Aldo was he undefeated for 9 years, one of the greatest fighters ever live, pound for pound, one of the greatest. You know, the 145-pound champ of the world, just a fucking absolute killer. Not a draw in any facet. Got no pay-per-view points, nothing. The only time anyone wanted to see him fight was when he fought Conor McGregor. The Conor rub-off on Jose Aldo helped him. After that, he got a little bit of a boost, but after that, still nothing. And he got murked in 19 seconds. The rub-off on Conor McGregor is real. Now, Nate beat him, but then lost. But you need the right dance partner in this day and age to get people to give you their $70. It is what it is. Is Tony Ferguson a great dance partner? Fuck yeah. He's a tough dance partner. He can dance his ass off. Mm-hmm. Legit, he can like b-boy dance. But you get the point there. And it sucks, but this is the world we're in. Tony Ferguson, Nate's not a draw. Tony Ferguson, Khabib, oh my God. What a fucking fight. Not a draw. What do you want me to do, man? Mighty Mouse, not a draw. Chocolatito, pound for pound best one, not a draw. Lomachenko might be the best boxer of all time, not a draw. It's the world we're in. CM Punk, draw.
It's true, though.
Paige Van Zandt, you know, God bless her. She's tough as nails, hot as shit, Dance with the Stars. It's just the world we live in. It's tough for me to even put these together. Bigger draw than Tony, Khabib, Lomachenko, Chocolatito, sorry. Fucking weird. Not my decision, guys.
Yeah, I don't know.
Crazy, right?
I would love to see how it would do, but there's no way in hell I would know. Nate versus Ferguson. But I'm sure Nate wouldn't want that, right? Especially after he said about
Nate doesn't want to find out either.
So never mind.
The one thing we know is Nate versus Conor 3
it's gonna be huge.
Is gonna be fucking enormous.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. My mom knows that. She doesn't watch UFC anymore since I stopped. My mom fucking knows. I was talking to her the other day. What's gonna happen with that Conor McGregor and the Joey Diaz? Well, Mom, God damn it, no, Nate Diaz. Yeah. What's gonna happen with that? I'm like, we don't know, but if it happens, I'll keep you posted. I would buy that one. No shit. Everyone will.